Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the trusts as well as some job data and the CLSK earnings. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so I'm going to start with the jobs data here. I think that's probably the most important thing, if I'm being completely honest, because again, unfortunately, none of us like it, but the macro economics is still playing a factor in the markets today. To be honest, I thought this would kind of be a dead in the water issue by now, but apparently it's still an ongoing thing. And so until it's not, we have to continue to talk about it. All right, so scrolling through the data here. I don't care about all this other stuff from these other countries. We just want to take a look at the U.S. So non-farm payrolls came in slightly lower than even the forecast and way under the previous one. Again, not exactly sure why that is. It could be for a factor of different reasons. I do not know what the underlying reasons are here. It could be because of natural disasters. It could be because of ICE deportations. It could be because of the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. It could be a number of things. We don't know what the reason is, but the market did not like it and it sold off. In terms of the unemployment rate actually came down from the previous month. And while that is a good thing for the employment market, that means a strong labor market. The markets could potentially actually see that as a bad, excuse me, as a bad thing. And the reason being is because this is going to sound really counterintuitive, but when unemployment rises, meaning the amount of people getting laid off increases, that actually cools inflation. And as you guys know, inflation is still a concern for the markets. So, that's kind of why we're seeing what we're seeing now. But I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, the market, it had a pullback, but it looked like it was a technical level that maybe the bears would want to short at anyways. So the data just happened to line up with it, and it is what it is. So, in all honesty, we're bobbing around in this channel. We broke out of it. Now we got obviously an overcut. Whether it continues to go down or bounces, goes back up, that remains to be seen. But in my opinion, I do think the markets are overall bullish. Really, in truth, when in doubt, zoom out, right? We've mainly just been going sideways, kind of like Bitcoin. And obviously, after the August dump, we had a huge rally, right? So probably going to want to have a little time to cool off. Again, this appears to be like Bitcoin, a pullback in time, and I think eventually we are going to rally. It's just a question of when. So, and also a question of what data, because obviously it's always going to be some kind of catalyst to send the markets in one direction or another. So the question is, what is it going to be, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and go over CLSK real quick. So CLSK did have earnings. You can't really see it here on the 4-hourly chart. The price of CLSK was up much more earlier in the day, but we did have a nice sizable gap up here on CLSK from about 1050. It shot up all the way to 1250, so pretty big increase. If CLSK is going to go up in the coming weeks, or continue to go up going forward in time, it's probably going to take quite a few weeks to play out. I don't think CLSK going from 1050 all the way up to 25 or something like that is going to happen in a week. I'd love to be wrong about that, but the last time that we saw a move like that on the earnings calls was, it was way back here. And as you guys know, it took quite some time for these moves to play out. So we had the earnings. Let's see, where was the first truly profitable one? It was right here, May 2023. So let's see, it was right there. And then, it took quite some time to go from those levels all the way up to the all-time highs. It took almost an entire year to go from, trying to see where that measurement is, from about 350 all the way up to $25. Again, I don't think we have a year left in the crypto bull run. I think we have roughly about 9-10 months, something like that. But as the timeline on the crypto bull run becomes shorter and shorter, that means that when we do get the moves, they'll probably be much more explosive and maybe perhaps slightly less how do I say this? Slightly less time in the bull run for these things to actually run to the upside. So regardless, I mean, once we get a break right above somewhere between 12 to 14, I mean, it's pretty much game over. This thing's probably going to rocket straight up to 18. I can't say that with any guarantee, but their earnings were pretty good. So they were actually much better than I expected. I mean, look at this, nearly 1,500% beat on earnings. On the actual earnings per share, it was only expected that they would have a net loss of 6 cents per share, but they had a net gain of 83 cents per share. So that is huge. Now let's get into the actual data here. So here's basically the summary of all of it. Again, I'm not going to read all this off to you guys. I will just give you kind of the pros and the cons here. So you guys can go look this stuff up in your own time if you want to, but it says positive. So you got the positive and the negative. The only negative, according to this article, is the long-term debt, which of course I'm sure that they could probably pay that off anytime they wanted to if they really wanted to. So positive revenue increased 120% year over year to 162.3 million. That is a huge increase. A 100% increase is more than double. Just so y'all know, that is a big deal. Net income grew to 246.8 million from 25.9 million year over year. So you're talking about another 10x increase. Absolutely massive. Earnings per share increased from 85 cents to 85 cents from 14 cents. So it's another roughly about 5-6x increase year over year. Bitcoin mining cost reduced to 34,000 per coin. Bitcoin treasury grew to 10,500 Bitcoin. So they secured the 650 million convertible bonds. I'm assuming this probably has something to do with the share buybacks that were mentioned. When that takes place, I have no idea. So total assets reached to 2.8 billion with 1.2 billion in liquidity. So it sounds like they have a lot of money on hand. Again, the long-term debt, I mean, there is that, but if they have 2.8 billion in assets with 1.2 billion in liquidity, they could easily pay this off like that if they wanted to. And then 57% gross margin achieved. So the one thing that I do want to point out here is, like I told you guys before, the price of Bitcoin was between, I think it was like 70 to 100,000 or something over the last few months. If their average price to mine Bitcoin was 34,000, let's just go down to the price of Bitcoin here real quick. And if the average price for them to mine Bitcoin was 34,000, and the quarter that we're currently seeing was based on, let's say, the past 3 months we'll say Q4. Probably it was probably Q4. So anywhere between December and September. I mean, at the lowest end for them mining Bitcoin, they were still making about, if the numbers are correct here, they were still making about, at the worst case scenario, $20,000 in profit per Bitcoin. Best case scenario, they were nearly tripling their money on Bitcoin mines. So that is a huge deal. So it's very, very bullish earnings on CLSK. Pretty much what I expected. I will say that I did not think it was actually going to be this good. I thought CLSK earnings was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to completely blow it out of the water like it did. So, I mean, that's great for the stock. We'll just have to wait and see how the stock performs. I do assume that it's going to go up on these earnings because Wall Street always wants to buy something cash flow positive, and the earnings per share are now positive. So, we'll just have to keep an eye out on this one. What I will say is the fact that the markets were down today based on market data, labor data, I should say, and CLSK was up on earnings does speak volumes about the bullishness of the news. So perhaps CLSK will be even more explosive to the upside when the markets go back up. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. So anyways, LTCN, so finally getting some green on the day. It does appear that crypto is starting to slowly recover. We're seeing some green on the altcoins and the price of Bitcoin. Well, it was green anyways a little bit earlier, but again, I mean, really Bitcoin is just having another pullback in time like it did before. It's done it many times and then moved up every single time. I'll show you guys, as a matter of fact. So you can see, and again, I know people are going to say, oh, it's crap, it's not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. And people said that literally every single time, okay? So right here, oh, it's garbage, it's dead, it's going nowhere, blah, 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 right? I mean, I understand it, guys. I get it. Your frustrations, trust me, I know. Been doing this for a long time. Sometimes it does get extremely annoying to see this happen. But it went from 16, even if it just went from 16 to 24,000, you're talking about nearly a 33% increase. And then we did the same thing yet again right here. And then you have another explosive move up for nearly a 2x gain. And then we did it again right here between 40 to 44,000, and then boom, absolute rocket ship, nearly another 100% gain. You know, this bull run is actually starting to look more like 2017. I'll have to go back in a later video and look at this with you guys, but it really does look much more like 2017 than 2021. Okay, so, and then we got another pullback in time here that I was telling you guys about last year between basically 75 and 50,000, and then we doubled again and went from 50 to 100,000. And now we currently are having yet another pullback in time. This is the fifth pullback in time since basically since the bear market lows. And every single time it's led to the price going up. Now, does it guarantee the price is going to go up? No. Nothing's ever a guarantee, but based on recent history, the likelihood it's going to continue to go up, I would say, is pretty high. So, I mean, there is that. You guys are saying it's doing nothing. I'm looking at the price saying, it's happened before. It takes a while to play out, but eventually it does go up. So LTCN, it does appear that this $9 level is held. Again, that's what I'd be looking at currently to pick up some LTCN. The current target as of right now is $54. It could easily go much higher than that. Again, crypto is very unpredictable, and moves, when they do happen, can be very sudden and sharp. So 510% gain. BCHG. What I will say is if this bull run is more like 2017, there is a possibility that we'll have many explosive moves over this year in crypto, but they'll be more like laddered, like what we've seen before in 2023 and 2024, something like that, okay, where we just have several months of just explosive moves, then we have a sideways kind of market for a month or two, and then more explosive moves, and on and on. Or, it consolidates for a longer period of time, which I hope is not the case. And then we just get 3 to 6 months of just absolutely stupid gains. And then that's it. That's the end of the bull run. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. So BCHG, I'd say still right around that $3 area is a good area to hold because there is some pretty strong support down there. Target I'd be looking at is 24 all the way up here for about nearly a 700% gain. HZEN, so probably still right around this $3 area for the absolute lows on this one. And I'd be looking for anywhere between 8.25 to 10.5 here. Again, if you guys think that these aren't going to go up and you see no value in them, then I can't tell you what to do with your money, but if it was me, I wouldn't be touching it. But that's up to you to decide. I mean, they are pretty cheap looking right now, in my opinion. So 258% gain. Potential here. Again, if you look at this from the inverse perspective, okay, HZEN from the previous swing high is down 70%. And this is just one example, okay? But if I measure it from the all-time highs, or the all-time highs that we know about anyways, it's down 90% still, okay? And a lot of these altcoins, even like the altcoins that we hold, like, say, Audius, for example, truth be told, it's pretty damn cheap looking right now. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's ever been this cheap ever. So it is literally the cheapest it's ever been. This thing used to be at $4. And from the previous all-time high, it's down 98% still. So really, we haven't really even had an all season yet. So there's a lot of potential here. Obviously, I can't tell you with certainty that it's going to go up, but the lower the price that you get in on something, especially when it makes sense, it's the right time to get in, the upside that you have increases substantially. So you got to think about it in inverse terms. When you buy when it's too expensive, you increase your drawdown risk, okay, unrealized loss risk. When you buy when it's when you buy when it's too cheap, you reduce your drawdown risk, but you also massively increase your upside risks. So if you're averaging down, your average comes down significantly as you continue to buy more and more and more on the cheap, if that's what you want to do. It lowers your cost basis and then significantly increases your upside. So when you finally do get that explosive move, the gains could be potentially just stupid because, again, let's see if I can find the tool here. So you would make a lot more money, let's say, buying down here than the guy who bought up here, okay? But even if you bought, let's say you bought right here somewhere and you just average down, and let's say you got your average cost right here, not quite right here, but right here, you're still going to make a lot more money than this guy that bought right here that's been holding the whole time waiting for the price to go up. As a matter of fact, the amount, let's say that this dude's average was right at the bottom of this 1850, his upside is 4% to get back to that swing high, whereas your upside to get back to that swing high would be 125%. You can see a substantial difference here. Okay, so anyways, ETCG still between the trend lines 9 and 13. Target, I'd be looking at 20 on this one, so about 118% gain ETH-E. Do keep in mind that February is usually supposed to be a pretty bullish month for crypto, and Q1 is supposed to be bullish for Ethereum. We have yet to see that play out, but it's still early in the month. It's only the 7th of February, so we'll see. I'd say worst case scenario down here at 1830. It's hard to say if it's going to go that low or not. So 7250 is the target. This is mainly just sideways. It's pretty much just I would see this as an accumulation block. So 300% gain. Okay, so you got GBAT here. So it is trying to test these wick lows. It's pretty cheap right now. You guys can do what you want to with that. If you think it's going to go even lower than that, then maybe, let's say maybe around $3, around this kind of wick low here. You can see another wick over here where it tested previously, or even as low as 240. Again, what you think is likely going to happen, where you choose to position, that's up to you. So $32 for the target here, about 1,300% gain. FILG, so testing the lows here. It could go as low as 20. It could hold this area at 25. That's kind of the area I'd be looking at. Targets all the way up here at 400 for about 1,500% gain. GLIV also testing the wick lows here. So again, that's not really a shock. That does happen often in markets. Worst case scenario, if you're really truly worried about it, you're like, oh, it's just going to go lower. Then maybe all the way down here at 680. But the $9 area, I'd say that's still probably a pretty good area. If I'm being completely honest, it's been traded in here quite a bit, and there has been some pretty kind of major moves off of this $9 area. So, but again, if you want to play more conservative, I understand. So 1,060% gain here at G-Link. Again, this is mainly, I see this just as mostly sideways, but of course the price action, if you're not zooming out and looking at the bigger time frames, you would never notice this. So maybe all the way down here at 45 for a pick-me-up, and then the target would be obviously the all-time highs for about a 5x gain for nearly 400%. Okay, GSOL still holding kind of around that $20 area. Again, worst case scenario, if it does pull back, maybe look for about 16 on this one, with targets going all the way up to 80 to about 115 for about 670%. GXLM, I'd still be looking for about 36 to 40. I don't like this long wick at the top of this candle. It's a very bearish looking candle, even though it's a green. But we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So 87% gain here for the potential, or sorry, I messed that one up. So 69 to 96 is what we're looking at for the targets here. So actually it could be closer to 161%. Okay, mana. So we're getting some wicks on the downside. That is obviously a very bullish sign. When we see that, usually the price does go up. I'd be looking for somewhere between 730 to about 10 on this one for pick me up. And then the target all the way up here at 72, which is the previous all-time high, so 887%. And Zcash, it is currently testing previous structure, as you guys can see here. And again, if you're ever wondering if a level is structure or not, you just basically just look at where the resistance and the support candles line up, and you kind of just draw a line right through it, and that'll give you a pretty good idea of where that level's at. So in this case, it would be at roughly about 315. If you're worried it's going to go a little bit lower than that, maybe down here at 280. It's hard to say at this point. So $8 to 10.30 on this one for about 265% gain. So, I mean, there's some green on the day. And again, crypto is usually pretty bullish in Q1 of the post-halving year, especially the altcoin market and Ethereum. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. CLSK had some exceptional earnings. I think once the markets start moving up, like the NASDAQ and the S&P and stuff like that, and markets start getting a little bit more bullish on some of the data that we're seeing, then I think the moves on these miners are going to get even more explosive to the upside. And in terms of the positions that we have, and again, for now, we're going to stop doing the buy, sells, and dividends on a weekly basis. We're just going to go to monthly videos. But I do want to show you guys this. So we have one put on cash secured put on CLSK for some premiums here at $11. We still have the initial trade position on CLSK, as you guys can see, and we have still been buying mainly just SPYT this week. Again, part of the reason why is because the stock or ETF, I should say, just usually when the markets are extremely bullish, it just sits around $20. So it's pretty rare to get a dip buy on this. So we've just been soaking it up nonstop. The goal is to get to at least 300 shares, which is about $100 a month. So as long as the market keeps giving us the opportunity to buy out on the cheap, we're going to keep doing it. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.